What really irritates me is that very often when we're talking about pain being experienced in the brain, is this idea of, oh, it's all in your head. There's a big difference between a sensation, the creation of reality by our brains, which is an amazing feat of consciousness, and the idea of it being a psychological phenomenon. So let's explain this a little bit easier. If I look outside and I say, it looks to me like the leaves on that tree are green, most people would think that sounds really funny because obviously the leaves are green. But it's the same phenomenon. We all decide within our brains to see the color green. Now, in regards to vision, we have such an immediate impression of the outside reality that we don't think about this. We don't consider that really what our brain receives are just signals of different wavelengths. And then the decision is made to color this part of this map up to the outside world. It's colored in with a green pencil inside our brain. But we don't say, oh, color, that's all in your head. You're just making that up, even though that is the reality of how we create reality. So with pain, the same thing is happening. It just becomes a lot more diffuse because different people have such different experiences on pain. And we know that people who are more anxious experience more pain too. But that is not a psychological problem. That is not because of something they experienced in their childhood. That is because of the anxiety programming the brain to see everything as higher danger. So I want to get these thoughts out of the way first so that you understand a little bit better how something can be all in your brain, but that doesn't mean, oh, that's only in your head. So what actually happens in the brain? We were talking about the pain signal being transferred from the spinal cord up into the brain. And there, another decision is being made whether we experience pain or not. And that decision depends a lot on expectation and experience. And that, again, is where people like to bring up psychology. And I'm so glad that modern neurology is over that and got away from it. Because we know that whatever we're expecting is going to change how we interpret reality. So if you are in a situation that is completely new to you, you've never been there before, you never heard any of those sounds, your whole environment is being treated as potentially dangerous. Because you have to consider 3 million years of human history. If you just plug this hunter-gatherer out of her normal territory and you just put her into a completely new landscape, what's she gonna do? Well, run and hide in the next hole in the ground, right? That's the only sensible thing to do. So our brains are still wired the same way because the last few thousand years, we just didn't have enough time to evolve to modern standards of safety and security, and certainly not to worldwide travel, because that's really only, well, hardly even 100 years that we can expect to be in a completely new space with new sounds. So keep these things in mind when you tend to think that somebody is just overly anxious and they're making that up. The pain is always real.